Hey everybody, Mr. Kevin here. I'm ready for the apocalypse. If I look a little different today, it's because I have no power. I live in Northern California and the wind decided to blow at 10 miles an hour, so PG&E shut off all the power. So I am prepared for all the darkness that's about to come. I got my guns loaded, my car's full of gas, and my food as we speak is melting in my refrigerator. Excuse me while I change my my headdress, because I feel like I'm getting a brain tumor. Yeah, okay, bye. Hey everybody, Mr. Kevin here from HumboldtCraftworks, and today I'd like to show you how to make yourself a very well organized cut list for your woodworking projects. That's a mouthful. And we're going to go over all that shortly, right after a word from our sponsor. Take it away. Huh? Oh, it's something new too. Check it out. So this makes about the fourth time I've tried to make this video. I thought I'd do it and with the power out, and that didn't work out because all the lights started dying and the camera went out on the fritz and all sorts of weird things happened. So I went out and pulled weeds, and then I did it 3 or 4 other times after work, and it was like 8 o'clock at night and I could barely talk, and that didn't work. So here we go again. How to do a cut list by hand. Oh man. And I know cut lists are about the most boring thing to talk about in the entire world, so I'll try to keep it as short as I possibly can and put everything that I want to say in there without going on and on about it. You know me, I could talk forever. For those who have never made a cut list before, it's just a, place to put all the parts you need and cut them down, and it's a list of everything you need to cut. Put it simply, I guess. But they're very important, so that's why I'm trying to make this video again. Because cut lists are very important. It's the most important thing in your project. I mean, other than not cutting your fingers off and hurting yourself. Because if your cut list is messed up, your entire project's messed up, and it's gonna cost you money, and you have to rebuild stuff. So you don't want to do that. There's a couple things I'd like to recommend that you get, and that's a really good notebook or an artist's sketch pad. That's what these are here, because the pages are thicker and stronger, and they don't fall apart. I went to the store the other day, because this thing's full, and so's my other one, and all 3 of them are full, and I went and got this. See the problem? Yeah. The papers are all they're all skinny. You can see through them. You can only use one side because it burns through, the ink burns through when you mark off what you've done. So my recommendation would be to get yourself, spend the money, because you can actually use both sides of the paper, and that's kind of good. The paper, you can hold it by one sheet and it doesn't come out. This one, this one here, I'm not doing it because it'll just fall out. On top of having a nice book to put your cut list in is a pencil that you can read, a legible pencil, because you want it nice and dark so you can read it, and an eraser, because Mr. Kevin makes a lot of mistakes, and eraser, you got to get it right. All right, the other thing we're going to need is 2 different colored pens, all right, or markers. I use this one for a rough milled, and this one I use for complete. And I will show you this shortly, what I'm talking about, because you're probably going, what the hell does that mean? Just hold on, I'll get there in a minute. Okay, so I'm going to go over how to organize your cut list, what parts to start with, and what order to put them in. Okay, we'll go over that. I'll show you with these pens how easily it is to know what's rough milled and what's not. If you use a dark pen instead of these light pens, you won't be able to read it. So you want a light pen so you can read through what your cut list says, all right? These are just to tell you what's rough milled and what's complete. So rough milled is when it's ripped to width, but it's not cross cut, all right? Completely milled, it's cross cut to length and labeled on the wood, and you mark this on your cut list. Done that, been done, did it, done, okay? The other thing you hear me talk about, if I could find it, is a rip list. And the rip list is the widest parts to the narrowest parts, and the complete total length of all the parts in your cut list. So if you have 10 pages of cut list and you have, so many 6 6-inch parts, blah, blah, blah. You have 3 7/8 parts and 2.5-inch parts. These are the footage, the linear footage of all of it. So I call it a rip list. You can call it whatever you want. This is for just ripping all your parts. So this will save you time and money, because what you do is you rip all the parts down and then you cross cut them, you label them, you put them in a pile, you wrap them up with shrink wrap. And there's another thing that might be good if you're milling stuff. Wrap it up in shrink wrap. That way it has its own, it's in its own pile. And this is basically all for the solid stock. All right. This is not for plywood. I do the same thing for plywood. I make my own rip list for plywood because it works the same way. And the same with with the drawers. The drawers and all that, everybody gets their own little rip list. I break my cut list down into 3 different sections: the hardwood, the plywood, and the drawers. All right. And the reason for that is that's how I build them. So in a small shop, the hardwood uses the most tools. I use my table saw, my joiner, my planer, sometimes a shaper when you're shaping panels if you have to do that, and a drum sander if you want to sand everything down. So, and plus you have to make raised panels. So making raised panels takes up space. You have to glue things up, they have to sit, they have to be out. So I do all that first and get all that out of the way. I build all the face frames, I build all the doors. If they're inset cabinets, I actually fit the doors and the face frames while it's on the bench, and then I put it in my office. Because I don't have any space. So the second thing I do is the plywood. And the plywood's easier because all you're doing is using your table saw or your panel saw, and you're just ripping it and cross-cutting it. And then you put it on the pocket screw machine if you have one, and you pocket screw it up, and you build the carcasses, and then you come back and you attach all the face frames and doors to it, and boom, and that leaves you with the drawers. And the drawers are simple because they're smaller. Even big drawers are smaller than dealing with sides of cabinets, and big, huge face frames. I just build the drawers last. Mr. Kevin's little wisdom tip to you is build the drawers last. It's not that big a deal. It doesn't take very long. And you want to make sure, especially if you're using like blow motion inset drawers, that you get it right. You don't want to build something and have to rebuild it and go buy more wood, blah, blah, blah. All right, that's enough. I'm talking too much. So when you have a little shop, you have to use your space wisely. And that's why I break everything into little sections. So I have my hardwood section, and that includes 8/4 and crown molding and all that, toe kicks, whatever you need. Do all that first, then the plywood, and then you build your drawers. All right, boom, and that's that. What are we gonna do now? So I have a few little cut lists, and I'd like to go over the stuff with you like this. This is from a project in that book. It's all tore up. So another good idea, and you can see it, I have it on quite a few of these cut lists, is to put these little tabs on the top, so so you can easily find the job you're on, the date you started it, what it is. So that's another little two-tip Tuesday trick for you. And then we'll go over how to write your cut list and what order to put it in. And it's pretty simple too. And I'm gonna have to change the camera for that. All right, hey everybody, I did it. Look, here's both cut lists. All right, this is for the solid stock. This would be the part of the first section. So the first section would be all the hardwoods. And that is the doors, the face frames, the toe kicks, the drawer fronts, all that stuff. And this is what it looks like. So I have the name of the job here is West Wall Cabinet. What I don't have is the date, so it's a good idea to date them, so take them out for pizza and a beer. When I'm building cut lists, I always start with the stiles, and then the rails, and mid rails if they have them, and then mullions or the center stiles, and I put the toe kicks last. Okay, so this is how I write it every single time. And if you notice, the door cut list pretty much looks just like the face frame. There's a raised panel, okay, and it's in here, and this is the final size, 11 1/4 by 17 3/4, and you can make yourself a little hieroglyphic little sign here so you know which way the grain goes, because some jobs, instead of going vertical, they'll go horizontal, and you want to definitely know what the difference is when you're building the damn thing. So I always draw these little things in so I know for sure. And then the last thing we have is the drawer fronts, and I put the drawer fronts on the door cut list because they kind of go together. So another thing I do when I'm labeling my parts is I'll abbreviate all this stuff. So I will actually go like west wall, and I'll go left. So I know west wall left is this, west wall, and I circle left. So if something's right, I write and I put a circle around it. If it's left with a circle around it. if I had these pieces here, what I would write on the thing would be, you know, west wall left would be the cabinet, and it would be TR for top rail, okay, MR for middle rail, and BR for bottom rail, right? And that's all I would write. And then the same with this. This would be WWL, and I would just write mull. I always call these mullions, okay? Mullion or center style, whatever you like. And that's what I would write on the hunk of wood as I'm milling it. Before I cross-cut it off, I write this on there, and then I cross-cut it. So here's Kevin's rip list. And you have 2-inch parts here, 2.5, and then you have this raised panel, which is right here. If I've ripped this up and I'm ready to glue it up, and it is ripped, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a line through it, all right? When I come over here, oh, I left off the drawer fronts. But so when it's ripped here, I also put a line through it here, just like that. I don't go through the entire thing, I just go halfway through it. So once I've milled this down, this would be west wall left RP, okay? Once I put that and cross-cut the piece to 17 3/4, then I come through and I mark it in green as been done. That is done. That way I know this is completely done and milled, and I don't have to worry about it anymore. So we've just milled up all the 1 inch or 12 feet of that, and then we just come over here and we mark it like this here, boom, 1 inch, 1 inch, and another one here, boom. Those are rough milled. That way you know they're done. When it's cross-cut, you take and mark your green pen all the way through. Done, 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 and done. So here's your plywood cut list. I always start with the sides. I go to the top and bottom, then the fixed shelves, then the cleats, adjustable shelves, partitions if they have any, and then the last thing is the backs. I also draw in all these little hieroglyphics here so I know which way the grain direction is. This is the grain direction. All right, so I don't get confused when I'm ripping stuff on the saw. You know, when I'm looking at this cut list, I'm like, oh, what is that? And then I'll just know, because it's right here. It's a 22-inch rip. This is a 23-inch rip. That's a 23 1/4-inch rip. All right, this one's a 23-inch rip. And this one right here is 31 1/8. I always just draw them out so I don't get confused, because sometimes, you know, it gets confusing. So I always start with the sides, the top and bottom, the fixed shelves, and the cleats. And the reason I do this is because my sides are always the same. They're 23 1/4 for a 24-inch cabinet, right? I daddle the backs out, so the bottoms are a 1/4 inch shorter, all right? And when I do that, the fixed shelves would be exactly the same as the top and bottom if there was a fixed shelf. And then the cleats are just little 3-inch cleats I make out of plywood. There's 4 of them, but this is also the same 30.5 inches as everything else. So when I'm cross-cutting everything, I don't have to change my saw. I also cross-cut them the same way I build them, or the same way they're drawn here. Okay, and then adjustable shelves are next, and I usually put a little wood trim on there. And then the partition is after that, and partitions are the same as the top and bottoms and the fixed shelves. If you notice, they're all 23 inches. And then the backs are last. There's the plywood cut list. And the last but not least is the drawer cut list. And it's real easy. It can also be plywood. It doesn't have to be poplar stock. I always make them out of poplar because I dovetail the fronts and rabbet the back, and there's a little video up there somewhere in the most awesome drawers ever. Yeah, you should check it out. It's pretty cool. So I always start with the sides. See the little theme here? Sides. Sides. I start with the sides, then I do the front and backs. And then I put the 1/4 inch bottom in there. PFM means for a pre-finished maple bottom, 1/4 inch, because I don't like spraying bottoms, and I have removable bottoms in all my drawers. And that's that. Okay, peoples. So that was the cut list. Now, just for the people who don't know the terminology for all the styles, rails, toe kicks, blah, 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 I'm going to go grab a face frame right now with all the parts on it from this cut list. And I'll put the cut list up on the screen here as I'm pointing at it, so you know what all the parts are. I'll be right back. Hold on. All right. Yeah, I'm back. So I got this prop, and it's all taped together. Nothing's going to be perfect on this. It's just going to be just taped it together. This was all just finished the other day, so can you see me way over here? I'm going to put this over here like this. Okay, so I'm going to go through the parts, and I know you can't see the bottom, but you can see the upper half, and that's okay. Hey, now I'm over here. All right, so you got the, so the difference on this, and I'll show you on the plans. I'll put the plans up here. This is a 1-inch right style. This is a 2-inch left style. All right, you have the top rail, and I'll point it out on the plans. Mid rail, which is the same size. 2 smaller mid rails are here. Of the mullion, which goes all the way down, or the center style. All right, so that's on that plan. And then we have the 2 raised panels. And we have 4 styles. 1, 2, 3, 4. They're 2-inch styles. We have 2-inch top rails here. And I'm going to lift it up real quick. So it's going to have to go really quick because, yeah. And there's the bottom rails for the doors and the bottom rail for the face frame. Huh. Can you see me? I feel like a peeping Tom. All right, and that's all the parts. So if you need woodworking and you're not sure what all the parts are, here's what they look like. And I'm sure you can find on the Google somewhere the, you know. All right, and there you go, Mr. Kevin's Cutlist extravaganza. So how to make a Cutlist by hand. You don't need a computer, you can do it by hand. If you're out of power and your computer goes on the fritz and you don't know how to do that, you're kind of SOL, if you know what I mean. Yes. The crowd goes wild. All right, yeah, look, I literally just have it taped on. All right, so I'm gonna take the tape off as I'm talking because I don't want this to mess up my finish. So, Cutlists are very important things to have. If you mess them up, you know, you're gonna make a mistake. And there's a video on making mistakes over here. And the reason I made that video is because I made a mistake on my Cutlist. If you're new to the channel and you like what you saw, subscribe, like, hit the bell, fling, flang, bang, bang, tell all your friends, share it with the world. Because I'm not getting paid for any of this crap, and I don't have any sponsors or anything like that. I'm not gonna ever try to sell you anything. I'll just tell you what I think is good and what I think is bad. So if you're new to woodworking and didn't know all whatever, and you know, hopefully this helped you out, and hopefully now you'll be able to make your own Cutlist like a whiz. And you won't need a computer to do it, because if you rely on a computer to do it and they shut your power off like they did in California, you're gonna be SOL, my friends. And I did all my plywood Cutlists on that day, and plus a pile of yard work. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for listening to my baloney. And if you like the video, hit the like button, blah, blah, blah. Do whatever you want to do. Tell all your friends, share it with the world. You be good. I'll see you next time on Woodworking with Mr. Kevin. There's Mr. Baxter. He just rolled in poop. Yes, he did. He rolled in poop. And he smells like a dead cow. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time. Next time we'll do a 2-Tip Tuesday, I think, because I got lots of 2-Tip Tuesday things, and they're way more fun than Cutlists. Cutlists are important. Practice makes perfect, so practice making Cutlists. Write it down, get it stuck in your little monkey brain there, and do it the same every single time. That's the whole key. Make sure you do it the same way every single time. That way when you go from one page to the next, and it's 30 pages long, you know exactly where to look, because it's right there. That will help you out immensely. Trust me, because when I was a kid, I had nobody to show me how to do any of this crap, and I would just, it would just come out terrible. So that's my perfected little Cutlist that I've used over the years, the last 30 years of woodworking. Yeah. All right, well, we'll see you later. You have an awesome day, and go out and play, hug somebody you love, and be safe. Bye. Today I'd like to go over you. I'd like to go over you in a certain situation. No, that's not it. Yeah, this is my master's thesis in woodworking right here. There's a few things when you do So there's a few things you need when you're doing a Cutlist. So if you're new to the channel and you like what you've heard, please subscribe, like, hit the notification bell, tell all your friends, share with everyone in the world, and comment below if you have any questions. Thank you very much.